Is this the year we get mostly new ideas of horror movies?
No.
Will that stop us from watching them?
No.
Why do we keep watching them if they're all just rehashed ideas from years ago?
Because we're freaking heroes, that's why.
All this and more on Gory Storytime.
Warning. Gory Storytime is a horror movie review show by a son and his dad who thought that letting his 5-year-old watch scary movies was acceptable. If you are offended by horror or talk about blood and gore by a child, or if you don't want horror movies from the 60s through today spoiled, then there is a remote stuck in your couch cushion next to potato chip crumbs. Use it. And of course, parental discretion is advised.
Why? You didn't use any.
Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Gory Storytime. I'm your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and father, Craig, and this week, first of all, Happy New Year to anybody out there watching.
Happy New Year.
It's our first episode of the year 2023, so we're going to do what we've tried to do annually and give a little preview of what's coming up this year that's been announced. Some of these don't have official release dates. Some of them, they're not sure what they're going to be rated. A couple of them are streaming. We'll get into that but we're going to give you 20 horror movies that are coming this year. And we usually go to the, we describe a movie, play a trailer, and we're only going to show one trailer. But, and then go to our real commercials of things that actually exist. But instead of starting our list and then cutting away for that, I figure we'll start with that. So this time it's out of order because, well, it kind of has to be to not interrupt the flow of the other part.
Yeah.
Make sense? Makes sense. So I'll start the new year for any new people watching by letting you know that we don't just do this because of our love of horror movies. That would be silly. We do it so that we can make bank. And how do we do that, Jay?
Well, we sell ourselves to big evil corporations that pay us tons and tons of money.
Yes, which is why we still do this show on local access TV.
Yes, we don't want to waste that money on this.
Anywho, this week, first commercials of the year, are Gory Storytime is brought to you by the Dave Bautista Acting School. Are you a talented person who would like to be in movies? Then get the hell out of here, because Dave Bautista's Acting School doesn't put up with any of that crap. Learn lessons like how to look like a Neanderthal, but somehow come across as less intelligent than one. Try our patented Show No Emotion classes. The Dave Bautista Acting School, because why let good actors get all the good jobs?
And by Generic Mills cereal. The cereals that look and taste like cereals you've enjoyed from other companies. We, at Generic Mills Cereals, understand that there's not really anything new for cereal. We have chocolate, fruit, marshmallows, flakes, and so on all covered. So we just do the ones that you love and hope you're cheap and will buy our lesser versions. Generic Mills. We're not as bad as you think.
All right. Now, to get into, I'm kind of excited about this because, a few of these I'm, really looking forward to.
Oh, yeah. Some of them I had not heard of.
Yeah, some of them, and some of them they didn't. If it had no information, we have one or two on here, but for the most part, we tried not to do that.
Because there were enough of them that had information. 76-something movies that were announced for this year.
Yeah. And it didn't have Renfield on the list, but we'll get it.
Yeah.
We'll have a couple that we're going to throw out there as these didn't make our top 20 list. But let's see. You want to go first?
Sure. I'm going to start with Knock at the Cabin. While vacationing, a girl and her parents are taken hostage by armed strangers who demand that the family make a choice to avert the apocalypse. It should be coming out February 3rd, and it is rated R.
And that is something we saw the trailer in a theater, and we're going to show you the trailer right now.
Are we gonna sing along?
Yes, of course!
I wanna put on my boogie shoes.
Yeah!
I wanna put on my boogie shoes. Just a boogie with you.
My name's Leonard. Well, it's nice to meet you, Wim.
Why are you here?
I suppose I'm here to make friends with you. And your dad's too. But my heart is broken
Why is it broken?
because of what I have to do today.
There is a woman carrying something that looks like a pick with a chain and a mallet head.
You see, the four of us have a very important job to do. In fact, it might be the most important job in the history of the world. We were called and are united by a common vision, which has now become a command that we cannot ignore. The four of us are here to prevent the apocalypse. Your family has been chosen to make a horrible decision. If you fail to choose, the world will end.
All right. Now, when we last year went and saw Violent Night, that trailer appeared before it, and I didn't notice, but you did, that Rupert Grint is in it.
Yeah, and obviously Batista's in it.
Dave Batista, yeah. We're not going to get into a lot of more details about each one because we got 20 to go through, so let's see. Another movie coming out is called Snow Falls. After a winter storm strands 5 friends in a remote cabin with no power and little food, disorientation slowly claims their sanity as each of them succumbs to a fear that the snow itself might be contaminated or somehow is evil. It's coming out January 17th and is rated R.
Indeed, indeed. There's something wrong with the children. A family takes a weekend trip with longtime friends and their 2 young children, but they suspect something supernatural when the kids behave strangely after disappearing into the woods overnight. That comes out on the 17th as well, but it's not rated yet.
Which is weird.
This
It's
close?
like, yeah, being that it's already January. Infinity Pool. It's James and M. Foster are enjoying an all-inclusive beach vacation in a fictional island of La Tolca when a fatal accident exposes the resort's perverse subculture of hedonistic tourism, reckless violence, and surreal horrors. January 27th, and it's rated R.
Megan, when Gemma suddenly becomes the caretaker of her...
Probably Gemma, but go ahead.
Oh, okay, well... becomes the caretaker of her orphaned 8-year-old niece, Katie. She's unsure and unprepared to be a parent. Under intense pressure at work, she decides to pair her Model 3 generative android, or Megan prototype, with Katie in an attempt to resolve both problems, a decision that will have unimaginable consequences. Released today, January 6th, and it is PG-13.
And the funny thing is, I'll just throw this out there. They said, like, one of the taglines is, "She's your friend to the end," which is just a complete stolen thing from Child's Play.
Yes.
But Child's Play, as soon as the first trailer, like teasers dropped, Chucky's
Their
official
official
Twitter started taking shots. But anyway, then of course, Jason's excited about this one, I believe. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. The days of adventures and merriment have come to an end as Christopher Robin, now a young man, has left Winnie the Pooh and Piglet to fend for themselves. As time passes, feeling angry and abandoned, the two become feral. After getting a taste for blood, Winnie the Pooh and Piglet set off to find a new source of food. It's not long before their bloody rampage begins. February 15th, and it's rated R, which I saw something today tried to say that it
it's
was in a
playing in Greenfield, Mass.
which I doubt if it doesn't come out until February.
Yeah. Scream 6. In the next installment, the survivors of the Ghostface killings leave Woodsboro behind and start a fresh chapter in New York City. Comes out March 10th, is rated R. They have a teaser trailer of people on a train.
The Evil Dead Rise. Moving the action out of the woods and into the city, Evil Dead Rise tells a twisted tale of two estranged sisters played by... it's got their last names and not their first names, so I guess it doesn't matter. Two estranged sisters whose reunion is cut short by the rise of flesh-possessing demons, thrusting them in a primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable. That comes out April 21st, and it's rated R.
The Nun 2. It's a sequel to the 2018 hit film The Nun. It's currently filming. It is set to come out September 8th and says that it has no rating yet. But based on the rest of the universe, it will most likely be rated R.
That would make sense. And I love that that's the only information we could get. It's a sequel to the first one. Ah, well, goody goody. Then there's The Exorcist. And it's not called Exorcist with a name or with another number, but it's one of those where they're doing kind of a soft reboot where they're like, the first one exists, this is a sequel to that. It's a sequel to, this is how little information they give. It tells what the first movie's about. It says it's the sequel to the 1973,
Not 37.
no, film about a 12-year-old girl possessed by a demonic entity, forcing her mother to seek help of two priests to save her. On July 26th, 2021, it was confirmed that Ellen Burstyn, who was in the original, would be returning as Chris McNeil for the first time since the original movie. October 13th, no rating yet.
It better be rated R.
It better.
Saw 10. Plot is under wraps. October 27th, no rating yet.
And
Probably R. Probably traps.
And yeah, the plot is under wraps is a good idea because that movie's all about twists and turns, and you can't have those if you give away the plot. And then, of course, we've done the Banana Splits movie, which was supposed to be a Five Nights at Freddy's.
And we did Willy's Wonderland.
Which was basically Five Nights at Freddy's. But you know what's actually coming out this year, supposedly? Five Nights at Freddy's. Mike Schmidt, a night guard at a local diner, finds himself troubled after confronting the truth about the animatronic costumes that reside. They aren't just robots, they're alive. Will he survive all 5 nights at this haunted diner, or is something more sinister at play? No release date and no rating.
The Deliverance. In a case widely covered at the time, LaToya Ammons and her 3 children experienced strange incidents in their Gary, Indiana.
IN wouldn't be Illinois.
No, it wouldn't. Home that grew progressively worse, with the children levitating, becoming violent with one another, and speaking in growls and deep voices with no recollection afterwards. Skeptics abound, but the Gary Police Department, Department of Child Services, and local church and hospital all became involved, filing reports that took the supernatural occurrences seriously. Officers, doctors, and social workers said they witnessed many of the incidences, and including one in which her 9-year-old son walked backward up a wall. The Indianapolis Star covered it closely as the Department of Child Services investigated it. No release date or rating yet.
But based on a true story, supposedly. True Haunting, speaking of true stories, the terrifying story of the first televised exorcism. It was on NBC in 1971. The news segment was a success, but the exorcism was not. Instead, it actually made things worse for the Becker family who lived there. Much worse. No release date or rating yet.
Oh, I can't wait. The Boogeyman, based on the short story by Stephen King, a man named Lester Billings talks to a psychiatrist about the murders of his 3 young children, describing the events of the past several years. The only commonalities were that the children cried "Boogeyman" before left alone.
Being left alone.
And the closet door ajar, even though Billings is certain the door was shut. No release date yet, supposedly PG-13.
Then there's a movie called Shelby Oaks. A woman's desperate search for her long-lost sister becomes an obsession when she realizes the imaginary demon from their childhood may have been real. Again, no release date or rating yet.
Salem's Lot, in the third version of the Stephen King novel, Ben Mears, a writer who spent part of his childhood in Jerusalem's Lot, Maine, also known as Salem's Lot, has returned after 25 years to write a book about the long-abandoned Marston house, where he had a bad experience as a child. He soon discovers that an ancient evil has also come to the town, and it's turning the residents into vampires. He vows to stop the plague of undead and save the town. No release date yet, rated R.
And then there's a movie coming out called Fun and Games. There's a strange element of cruelty embedded in kids' games, flashlight tag, hangman, Simon Says, and sometimes it's taken too far. All Fun and Games follows a group of siblings who find themselves in a game with a demonic twist. There's no release date or rating yet.
Totally Killer. After her mother is murdered on Halloween, a rebellious teenager travels back in time to 1987, where she must stop the young would-be killer and get back to her rightful timeline before she's trapped in the past forever. Prime Video, no release date or rating yet.
And then the 20th one we've got here, Horoscope. A group of college friends begin dying in ways connected to their fortunes after getting their horoscopes read, with no release date or rating yet, so can't get too deep into that. We have a couple honorable mentions. There's a reboot of the movie The Strangers, which is planned as a trilogy.
There was one that I read up on called Oregon Trail, where a woman in the late 1800s is riding her horse and is ambushed by a group of thugs who then take her horse, and then she has to fight her way back to taking her horse. And
it's a clever play on the game Oregon Trail.
Right.
Oregon. See?
Yes, I was very happy about that.
Now.
And there is a movie coming out in April, was it?
Which one?
Renfield?
Oh, yes.
Which is a new twist on the classic characters of Dracula and Renfield, and it looks great.
And it looks funny. It's considered a horror and
a monster
movie, which makes sense.
And it is Universal, of course.
Right. Now, we usually get into our favorite scenes, least favorite scenes. Obviously, we can't do that. What we can do is talk about our most anticipated movies, least anticipated movies, and then we have a third category. We hope it's good, but we're kind of weary about it. So I'm going to say most anticipated. I'm looking forward to Knock at the Cabin. As soon as I saw that trailer, I was like, this is great.
We were immediately both sold on that movie as soon as that trailer came on before around the night.
And it's one of those situations that goes to show, there are people that will say, like, I don't like it when you make this character something he's not. It's already a character that is either, this gender or this sexuality or whatever, and a lot of movies will change that. This has a gay couple with their daughter, and it didn't cross our minds that would bother us at all. It was literally like, well, these are new characters.
I'm now being introduced to them.
Yeah, so it's not like there's a history where it was
there is a
man
book.
and woman.
I don't know, but
I'm assuming it's actually based on the book, right? And they got, but whatever. But the point
I haven't
is,
heard an uproar yet, so I'm going to assume that this is correct.
I mean, I also don't think it was the most popular book, but if the movie's as good as it looks, it should become one, and I'll probably want to read it myself. Let's see how the movie goes.
And my most anticipated movie is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Yes.
As soon as this movie was announced, I was immediately in. I was all the way in.
He has this weird thing, though, we discussed at home, where he didn't realize that they're going to be eating people.
Because it doesn't say that anywhere at all.
I mean, literally.
Heck, we didn't even say that in
Yes.
the definition of
Yes.
the movie or whatever.
Yes, we did, if you listened.
Well, then
See,
you
I'm
put it
gonna
in
go
there
back
just
just
to
to
be
prove
wrong.
him wrong. The days and adventures of Merriman have come to an end. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. As time passes, feeling angry and abandoned, the two become feral. After getting a taste for blood, Winnie the Pooh and Piglet set off to find a new source of food. And they have a bloody rampage. A new
All right.
source of food.
Yes, when
Humans.
they say somebody got a taste of blood in a horror movie, it's talking about murder.
When it's
And-
followed up with a
and
new
when it's
source of
followed up
food.
with, they literally were starved. It's not about eating people, it's about finding food.
Feral pigs will attack and eat people. Bears, if they're starving, will attack and eat people. And he thinks that this horror movie with a feral pig and a feral bear are not going to eat people. Okay. Least anticipated. Here's how least anticipated it is. We agree on it, and neither one of us
Wanted to talk about it.
We didn't even put it in our 20 that we're talking about. And there's some on there that sound like crap to me. And I still put them above this. Insidious 5. That's a thing that's happening.
I don't know why.
And then we each picked one that we hope it's going to be good. We're holding out hope. We're going to see it, but we're a little weary that it's not going to be done well. I'm going to say mine is The Boogeyman because I love that short story. When I was probably 6, I read that, and it actually, I couldn't sleep. It scared the crap out of me.
And having heard it, just knowing that they're making it PG-13 makes it a little weird to me.
But here's the thing. It didn't have a lot of blood and guts or swearing, so there's no need for
Maybe.
it. It doesn't.
To make it a whole movie, aren't they going to show that stuff?
I mean, who knows? That's just it. That's why I'm weary about it.
And for me, it's The Nun. Because...
The Nun 2.
Yeah, The Nun 2. Because with the Conjuring series of movies, all these universe movies, probably about 50% of them have actually been worth watching. And most of those are actually the Conjuring movies with the Conjuring in the title.
And The Conjuring 4, I heard, was coming out this year. It's weird that I didn't see that on the list.
I know.
I heard that rumor.
Yeah.
We went to a list on IMDb of upcoming horror movies, and it
Man,
wasn't on the list.
A whole lot of them that don't even sound like anything. So
Yeah. So, yeah, because you liked The Nun, though, right?
I liked The Nun. I watched it in the theater. It was good.
But, Annabelle went downhill worse and worse, and, they'd kind of covered it in the first one anyway.
They covered that in the first Conjuring, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
All 3 of her movies were useless to me.
And I never saw The Nun, so I'm going to have to see the first one before I can watch the sequel. But then it'll give us something to
Hey, we could review it, yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
I guess we can just say next week we plan on we've watched a bunch of movies recently, and we're just gonna the 4 in a row are just gonna be things we watched recently that don't really have much to do with each other, except 2 of them are 6-month apart sequel to or prequel to the right
and all of the ones that we're thinking about doing were released last year.
Not all of them. We can talk about that off the air. But the point is, there are 4 more recent movies.
Indeed.
Like I said, one was a movie, and then it's prequel, and they were released within 6 months of each other, which anyone that knows horror movies and knows last year's release schedule probably knows that that's going to be X and then Pearl.
Indeed, they are.
So that's 2 of the next 4 that we're going to be doing. But until then, let's wrap up with the...
Wait, no, not that. This. You can watch the show on Fact TV channel 1076 Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. and Fridays at 7 p.m.
You can like us on Facebook, and when I say us, I mean like Gory Storytime and like Fact TV, because They
they're
live
cool.
stream stuff. Yeah, like they let us do this for many years. You were what, 13?
I was 13.
You're going to turn 22 next month?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm old.
Be 9 years going, man. Pretty good.
Yes, you can go to factdate.com and watch a bunch of the back episodes of this, as well as many other pieces of entertainment and programs that they have on this channel.
You can follow us on the Twitter. I'm at Craig Jakes, all one word, all lowercase.
I'm at Jiggly Firmbrain. I only tweet things that he says in or out of context, usually out of context, that I find amusing.
And go to YouTube and subscribe to type in Gory Storytime. The two things that'll pop up is my channel. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, and Fact TV has a bunch of episodes.
And comment
Do the
down
same for them.
below. All right.
Yeah, comment if you think there's anyone that might like it, share it. I want people to see it. We don't
Heck
make any
yeah.
money off of this for real, because we, get hit with, issues for putting in the trailers and everything anyway. But
Yeah.
it's not about that. It's about getting it out there. So
Until next time, I've been your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and father, Craig,
And sweet dreams.